Okay. Call the meeting to order. Was meeting properly noticed?
Yes, it was.
Clerk will take roll.
All members are present.
Okay. Are there any changes in the agenda? If none, the agenda will stand approved as printed. Minutes from the July 3rd meeting. Any changes there? If none, the minutes are approved as printed. We'll allow public participation as we go on. So the first item is a resolution for delegation of authority to settle defendants in national opioid litigation. So Corp Counsel, please.
So this was suggested by Krieger Dickinson, which is one of the firms that's representing us in the national opioid addiction case. I should say us and about 68 other counties. And they were suggesting this. You might recall we just had a settlement with the Sandoz group of pharmacies. And because most counties are set up the way ours is, where a resolution has to go through a committee and then through the full board, it was tough getting that one through for some counties prior to the deadline. So after that, Krieger Dickinson sent out an email to all the corp councils and said, we suggest you do a resolution that would authorize whomever you want to designate. And they suggested either the county administrator, the county board chair, or corporation counsel to be able to sign future settlement agreements without having to go in front of the committee or the full board. There are two conditions, though, just to make sure that whoever would be designated keeps within certain parameters. So the first condition is that the National Committee on Settlements has to have advised all the counties to accept the settlement. So you're not really putting the discretion in the Adams County representative. You're just authorizing them to accept settlements that have been approved by that national committee. And then the second parameter is that Adams County has to get the percentage that's been calculated again by the National Settlement Committee as the proper percentage for Adams County to get. So if there were ever a situation, and I can't imagine this occurring, but if there were ever a situation where the National Committee was not recommending settlement or they were recommending a different percentage, then that would still come before admin and FI and then the full county board. So Cynthia had let me know that she would like to be the person who has, the primary authority to accept the settlements. I think that makes sense because part of the resolution requires whoever has that authority to notify another person, and it seemed to fit well to have her position, the county administrator, be the one who can accept the settlements and then to notify the board chair. So the board chair is aware that a settlement's being accepted. If the board chair, wants further details or wants to bring it in front of admin and FI or the full board, they could certainly do that. And then I put myself in there, or I shouldn't say myself, but the corporation counsel position, just in the event that the county administrator would ever have some sort of an emergency where they would not be able to sign the document before the deadline. So that's a brief synopsis of why this resolution is coming in front of you. I would also say that Andy Phillips drafted the skeleton, and I didn't really make very many changes at all, other than to like in his, they don't have an intent and synopsis paragraph, but under the whereases they have an intent, the intent is. So I just took that and moved it. So basically the language is all his, but I moved some of the language around to make it fit our Adams County format. So any questions about it? Okay.
I look for a motion to move the resolution on the county board. Okay. Okay. Motion by Gabarsky, second by Edwards. To send the resolution on the county board. Any questions, discussion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed signify by saying nay. Okay, that motion passes. The resolution will go on to county board. Next, we have project status report. Any questions for Kyle or?
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
All right, so this project status report is something that I created when I first started here, thinking that it would be a useful tool for, because there's a lot of little projects that go on at department levels. But what I'm finding is that this report is getting duplicated with those department heads that are pretty detailed in their monthly reports and one specifically comes to mind is highway. So, and he does a really good job in covering all that. So we may be seeing this go away as a tool unless you feel very strong that this is something that you want to continue. It's just duplicating effort with the departments, especially those that are detailed in their reporting. So just giving you a heads up on that, it may go away, future agendas.
Supervisor Pease.
This is a hard one because I think sometimes we forget about certain things out there that could take a year or more to finally get to the end of, where we just kind of forget about, and then all of a sudden somebody asks us a question about it and go come up and go, well, geez, we haven't looked at that in over a year. So I think there's some use to this, but I also believe I've also seen certain ones sit on there for years and never be updated also because they've been updated in other reports. So it'll be interesting going forward how some of that stuff will be perceived. And if we lose track of certain things we want to keep on track. Thank you.
Supervisor Gabarsky.
Yeah, I'd just like to say that to have a different print on the bottom in a different color makes it a lot easier for us. Okay, so that's been updated and the rest of it, I don't know about anybody else, you kind of skip it after a while. So if there's a way to keep us updated without all of it, I'm okay with that.
Mr. Chair.
Okay, yes, Supervisor Pease.
Going along with that, Bob, I think that's a great point. Maybe instead of having everything above that, if something changes, then you just put the new blue stuff on there. And so those committees know that there was a change in there and they don't have to read everything down to get to the blue. If it shows up on your monthly report, your project status report, you'll know that there's something there that's been changed.
Okay. Anything else on any of the items that are on there? Okay. If not, economic development, I don't know if Derek didn't get the notice of the change, but we'll put it on next month then. So then we'll move on to the treasurer's report. So treasurer, please.
Good morning. Any questions?
Supervisor Pease.
Are we asking for any questions on the first part or on the sale items?
I can answer either.
Okay, hang on one second, let me get to that. Couple of my questions are, it says 4 parcels removed will return to previous owners. Does that mean that they came in and paid for their land?
So the situations are different with the 4 parcels. These were the ones that Nancy spoke about last meeting where we decided we were going to request that the court reverse those for different reasons. One, yes, the parties had paid. The check was in our hand on the day of the court but it was here in the office, and not at court. So early on, that one was determined to be returned to the previous owner. We had one person who was not mailed properly. The notice was his tax bill for 3 years was returned to us as not deliverable vacant property when it was not vacant. So it was actually a USPS error. The treasurer at the time decided to mail the notice of foreclosure to his previous address and not the address that we had on file. And he has the money to pay it. And then there was 2 other properties that were never noticed to vacate. And so they're still living in the property and also have the funds to pay the taxes. So it looks like once we get notification that they have been reversed, we'll take those payments and move forward.
I have other questions, sir.
Okay, go ahead.
6 parcels received a 10% reduction in price. Does that mean we're going to receive not our full tax bill on those then?
So we will always receive our payment in full. We put together a list and shared it intercompany or intergovernment to make sure that we collect any fees that we've worked on with these properties. The county will always get paid taxes. And then the Wisconsin surplus gets paid their fee, and then whatever's left goes to the previous owner. So that 10% reduction really falls on what the previous owner will get paid.
I have another question on landlocked property sales. So if you're only going to let adjacent property owners buy that land, doesn't that really, they could collude and get that property at a very low rate?
I mean, yes, that's always possible. And this is really just thrown out there because it came up as a conversation item between Lyanna and myself. And then also I spoke to other counties to determine how they handle landlocked properties, because, if you purchase a landlocked property, then you don't have any way to access it, right? So you have to go work with the people that have property around it to give you an easement. And many of the counties I spoke to do not sell landlocked properties to anyone unless it's a adjacent owner. We don't have to decide to go that route, but I felt like because it had not been discussed, it was something to bring out to you to see if you want to do it, because down the road it can cause issues. The one landlocked property that we had was actually purchased by a adjacent landowner, so we didn't have to worry about it.
So easements aren't honored if it goes to a new seller.
I mean, yes, but there has to be one. So in this case, if it's landlocked, there is no easement. And this property was like right up against the railroad tracks. So the one specifically that kind of started the conversation. And then, we had a property that was sold that was so small that I don't know that they're even going to be able to have room to stand on it, and so looking at some of those 2 down the road is something we should look at, because we do have some gaps in deeds, that the county owns that we may want to sell. So
The last question is 345 parcels. That seems like quite a bit. For years, we had very little we used to have a book about 30, and now we're looking at 345. I guess, what's your theory on that?
yeah, so last year nothing was done with looking at the delinquent properties. So a whole year was skipped. So this does have 2 years, but it still is a lot in comparison to what we would typically see, even if you split the 2 years out. One thing to note is we're looking at 21 and 22. So these are really the first years after COVID hit and people lost jobs and kind of got in trouble. We have proactively noticed, like right when I took office, anyone that was delinquent, to let them know that we would be looking at the properties and give them plenty of time to start making payment agreements with us. But and people have been coming in to pay. If you notice, I put the date on there because I've probably had a dozen people come pay theirs off since that report is done, but I haven't with taxes. I've been able to go back and update it.
I remember one more question, sir.
Yes, go ahead.
going back to a landlocked property, if we have the policy that says that we're only gonna sell to adjacent or property owners, or if the county's just gonna take over that property, if we don't sell it, it will never, ever go back on the tax rolls either, correct?
So I think we could, so we're required to try to sell the property at the market value, period. So that's where it has to start. With, even if we were gonna sell it to the people that are adjacent. And, I mean, any property somebody has to be willing to purchase it. I mean, right now, the ones that we have listed today that are up through August 12th, I think is the ending date. There's only one of the properties that has a bid on it. Now, people could be waiting for last minute to bid to not drive up the price. But we just have to be willing to keep making those adjustments until we find the right price, and that's, that's what real estate is, right? Whatever someone's willing to pay for it is what we get. So, and I think we have a pretty good process in place where it's pretty, once we get the review done, which is, why I mentioned the staffing in the treasurer's department, because I actually had to pay Amy Skemp to do a lot of the research for me out of my own salary. Because you need to actually look at the properties. We've found a couple where it's clear somebody thinks they own it, right? So then we have to go back and do deed research, find that person, get them involved in the conversation. And it takes research, and my goal is to not have to give back 6 properties because we did something wrong next year. I want to make sure we do this right.
Thank you.
Okay. Supervisor Kubarski?
Yeah, a couple of things. Kara, do you, as you advertise this, you have something in there that says we can either accept or reject bids?
Yes.
Okay, so
Yep.
that's taken care of. And then the other thing is currently, what kind of amount of people that are, how do I put it? Those that haven't paid on time by July 31st. Is there any of them now?
Are you talking about for 2024 or the taxes that are currently due?
Yes.
So we're still in the 5-day grace period, 5 working day grace period. So I will run that report at the end of this week to determine where we're at. I haven't pulled it yet.
We'll know more next month.
Yeah. Yep. And we still have probably 200 payments in the office right now that we have to enter yet. So.
Okay. Supervisor Pease?
Mr. Chair. The last thing I was going to ask is, this is the first time using Wisconsin surplus for this type of thing. Did we see more bidding than last year, less bidding than last year? How do you think sales were up a little bit compared to what we thought we were going to get? What's your
I
perspective
think
on
that, I mean, I wasn't here last year and I'd have to discuss it with Lyanna. We can certainly do that and come back next month with a more up to date, but I think that the bids were higher. And Wisconsin Surplus did a good job of going out there, taking pictures, putting those pictures online, putting out the signs. So that was definitely helpful in the process. So, I agree that I got some feedback from quite a few people that they think that Wisconsin Surplus's fee is too high. But I think once it's 8%. I think once we reduce it the first time, we've taken care of that fee down to 10%. So yeah, I think we move forward with it.
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
Last year we didn't sell any properties, so we would have to go back another year. And the year prior, we had already discussed that it was, more difficult than using surplus. There was a lot more committee involvement. There was a lot more work on the treasurer's office itself. So I think that Wisconsin Surplus definitely did a great job, and it was a lot easier on the county.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, Supervisor Kubarski?
Another quick question regarding, as this money is returned to the owner of record, who has to go through and find out if there's any liens on the property or anything due? Hopefully that's not us.
Yeah, you can answer it, Nancy, if you'd like.
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
All of these properties did have title work done prior to the foreclosure that was commenced last year by Attorney Malia Malone because Jeff had left and I hadn't started yet, so she handled last year's. And that's true every time we do tax foreclosures. We are required to get title work on each property, and then we pass the cost of that title work on. So we get to recover that once the property sells. So there shouldn't be any liens or mortgages or anything of that nature. Even if there are, part of the foreclosure process is that they are they become subordinate to the county's tax lien. So,
So you go through a title company, is that correct?
yes, Kara might be able to tell you which one. I don't
Yeah,
remember.
we use Dane County Title for this.
Okay.
And we don't get a full title report like you would get if you were buying a property as a private citizen, but we just get I think it's like a sheet, one sheet for each property. And Mr. Chair,
Yes.
I also just wanted to address the landlocked property. I think what needs to happen is Kara, Liana, myself, and possibly Dusty, because he's the one who's going to have to deal with issues down the road, need to just have a meeting and talk through the landlocked property issue. My point of view up to this point is that we should sell them because they are tax parcels. And I'm now also thinking because of the change in law, we may be required to sell them because if you think about the fact that now any excess proceeds go back to the owner, well, if we refuse to sell those landlocked properties, that's depriving the owner of the chance to get those proceeds. So we may need to either not start a tax foreclosure on them at all, or if we are going to start a tax foreclosure, we may be legally required to sell them. I don't know that, but that's something that as we've been talking this through today, I need to research. So anyway, I think we'll try to meet and then we'll report back to the committee kind of what our consensus is after we've been able to do that. I do also want to mention though that to my knowledge, and again, I think Kara has a little bit more information about this, but Wisconsin Surplus, and we didn't know they were going to do this, but they come and put a auction sign up on each parcel. So
Mhm.
any adjacent landowners, did we send them a letter? No, and we're not required to do
They
that.
actually did get a letter from Wisconsin Surplus.
Oh, they
though.
did?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. It was a postcard. One of the one of the adjacent owners actually showed it to me. So
Oh,
yeah.
okay. I wasn't even aware of that. So the adjacent owners are aware, and if they want to bid, they can. And my own feeling at this point, and again, once I do some legal research, I may change, but my legal opinion is we should sell them because why wouldn't we want the county to, continue to have them on the tax rolls? However, the reason I want to pull Dusty into this is because, like I said, if there end up being issues about how the new owner wants to use that property, he's the one who's going to have to deal with that and with potentially unhappy adjacent landowners.
Yeah. And I believe that we should sell it. It's just the question of whether or not we should give first dibs to the property owners that have adjacent or not, if they're willing to pay the market price or not. So that type of thought. So.
Okay. Thank you. Next, we'll move on to the IT report then. Anything for the director?
Maureen, are there any questions in this month's report?
No, not seeing any. So move on to human resources.
Good morning. I don't have anything special to report, so if anybody has any questions, I'd be more than happy to answer any.
Supervisor Pease.
As we go through resignations, retirement and transfers, are we looking at, downsizing the county at all? I mean, I look at, just people in court like, computer support specialist. Do we do a survey to see if that position is still needed? Do we do a work study? I mean, we've downsized other places. Are we gonna do stuff like that with certain positions?
When a position becomes vacant, the department head completes a PRF, a personnel requisition form. And that goes through an approval process, so it gets approved by HR and the administrative, the county administrator. And then, once it's approved, it gets posted. So every position within the county that it becomes vacant, we're not doing a work study or a wage, a study for each position, if that's your question.
So who makes that determination if it's gonna go that way? The department head or Cynthia or whom?
I guess it would probably be a mutual decision. I know there are some department heads who don't, when there have been resignations in their department, they don't even post the position right away because they're looking at restructuring. So sometimes it starts there at the department head.
Okay,
Chair?
Supervisor Edwards.
I hate to sound like a broken record. Click, click, yeah. But the library student intern positions, have you received a request to even post those?
Those job descriptions were redone. And yes, we did receive the request. The job descriptions have been sent to Aaron for signature. And once I receive that library aide position job description back signed, I can get that posted.
Thank you.
There's only at this time one vacancy in the for the library aide. I know there's going to be some that are coming up, but we can't fill a position until it's vacant.
Okay, because currently they only have one person, and that person's going to be leaving shortly.
That's news to me then.
That's what I thought. Thank you.
I have only received one resignation for, and there's 5 that's the high school student.
Yep.
There's 5 of them and I've only received one resignation letter. So if there's 4 additional ones or if there's 3 additional ones that are gone, I'm not aware of that.
Okay, thank you, Carol.
Yep.
Supervisor Paler.
I'd just like to ask about that second one up there, that land and conservation watershed. Is that position closed? That's gone now?
That's the grant position that was sunsetted. So yes, that is not, that position is, it was just up there to show that position has been, the sunset has happened. So no, we are not rehiring that position. That's done.
Okay. If nothing else, we'll move on to the county clerk's report.
Any questions?
Okay. Seeing none, Corp Counsel.
First, I'll ask if there are any questions on my report. Okay, and then something I just wanted to advise you about. You may remember that at the last board meeting, Supervisor Pawlowski, I apologize if I have his name right in front of me, I can pronounce it. But if I'm trying to get it off the top of my head, I don't always remember. Anyway, he had asked about the fees to the Atoles law firm and how much we have spent on the litigation against the treasurer due to the incompatibility of office issue. So I did review all of the Atoles invoices, and at present, we have spent a little less than $33,000 on that issue. Some of that was spent pre-suit and some of that has been spent post-suit. The total year to date for Atoles is in excess of 100,000. So the incompatibility of office issue accounts for approximately 1/3 of our total expenditures with Atoles this year.
Any questions on the Corp Council's report? Okay, finance directors. Start with the monthly.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
were there any questions on the monthly report?
Okay. Quarterly report.
Mr. Chair,
Finance director.
I'll just kind of go through it quick. So the
Okay.
first page is just my memo for the report. The next page is going to show the general fund revenues, and you're going to see the account description, the budgeted amount, fiscal year to date activity, amount that it's over or under budget, and then the percentage. Any percentages that are less than 50%, you're going to see a comment in there explaining why it's under 50% for revenues. And if you scroll down a little bit further, page 6, that's going to be the general fund expenses. So any same thing with the headers there, and then any expenses that are over 50%, you're going to have a comment on there explaining why it's over 50% and if there's any concern. There really wasn't too many items that had comments on them that were for the expenses. So I guess if there's any questions, I can answer them at this point.
Yeah, Supervisor Pease.
Mr. Chair, can you comment, what, TID district did the city close? And is that, what is $109,362?
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
I don't know which TID, they had 2 TIDs. I think it might have been TID 2 that had closed. And when they close that out, then there's some revenue that comes towards the county in relation to closing that tax incremental district.
So we'll get a portion of that or all of that?
I believe it's a portion of that.
Okay.
Any other questions for the finance director on the quarterly report? And then the ARPA work group, was there any? No updates there, so finance director shook his head no. So seeing none, we'll move on then to the county administrator's report, monthly report.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good morning. I'm gonna start out with accolades. Miranda Christensen expressed great satisfaction of Rich Huck and his team, and a little write-up on that. So congratulations to Rich, to you and your team for a job well done. Next up, Lauren Taft of the Planning and Zoning Department is being recognized for great customer service. So a citizen extended their gratitude, and I attached the email that came. So congratulations to Lauren for a job well done. Next up are capital projects. Phase 2 building project. MSA has experienced some turnover, and with that change, the project bid process has been moved to September. The Property and Rec Committee planned to meet here in August to kind of bring the committee up to date on the progress of that project. Next up, Highway Department projects. Some seal coating projects are all complete. County Highway Z, the White Creek Bridge update, there's a picture there. And then the waste site is stripped to receive spoil there. And that picture on the bottom is obviously some seal coating going on. Under happenings, splash pad, I provide an update on the splash pad. Next up is increased court support funding of $10 million. Now, the county's not going to get all that, obviously. That'll be allocated to counties. We just don't know at what extent that is for Adams County at this point. Centralized phone system is being implemented and it should make the clerk's office operations more efficient as they were yielding or shielding or fielding all the calls coming in. Extension Community Needs Forum. This is a requirement that was set by an MOU. And so that now this meeting that happened fulfilled that obligation. Airbnbs. The county does a great job in tracking these Airbnbs. I did a write-up on here because of a conversation that happened at an economic development meeting and my concern of perhaps duplicating of effort. So I just wanted to share because I was kind of curious too, the fact that what the county is doing with SAM boards in the planning and zoning department. So the top part is just how you would search property. That bottom picture there of the whole Adams County, a little bit lower. All those yellow dots represent Airbnbs that are licensed. Next up, solid waste is looking into options for leachate treatment. But before anything is set in motion, obviously a lot of discussions need to take place with there may be 2 municipalities involved and also obviously working with the solid waste committee. And I kind of go into what happened. There was a little situation that could have limited the amount of leachate that we can get distributed out away from the cells. So we have to be concerned about this, I guess, going forward as our cells are getting bigger. And this becomes a more magnified concern in the future. Land and Water, then finally here, they received a grant. And so that's mentioned there. Other than that, are there any questions on the report?
Supervisor Pease?
More than a question, but a comment. Going back to the phase, whatever phase we're in, I will say that seeing we're kind of starting over on what's going to happen here at the courthouse, I would love to see us build, like I said before, the Health and Human Services building first, and then see who's going over there before we continue with the courthouse project. Just something for property. And when they meet, I will say that again. Thank you.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
So I'll just respond to that because one thing you have to take into consideration when we talk about Health and Human Services, this is something that we will require debt of up to $20 million. And that seems to be kind of a contention here with this board.
Yeah, Supervisor Pease?
So what happens in the meantime to the $2 million we currently have out right now? Do we just put that into a fund after the beginning of the new year? Or do you reallocate that and take it out of next year's budget? How does that work?
Give it to Kyle.
Okay, Finance Director?
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
Yeah, so if we don't spend that money on the building project in this current fiscal year, we'll rebudget for it, and it's just gonna be fund balance applied in the budget for the revenue source because we're gonna have that money sitting in the fund and then the expense will be the project.
So that stays in the capital improvement fund.
Correct.
Okay.
Thank you, Kyle.
Supervisor Kubarski?
Mr. Chair, I should have asked this before between the treasurer or maybe the finance director, but County M, we borrowed money for that. I hear your head shaking.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
All right, so yes, well, not yes, but yes, initially, we were going to seek debt for that. And remember, there was a grant that was made available to us, or we had a potential for a grant. And we held off on getting any debt on that because we pursued the grant. Well, we didn't get the grant. And by the time it all settled, we were able to find funds, creative financing using reserves within the county to put funds together. We had ARPA. That was one of them, right, Kyle? There's a number of things. And then Pat also got creative too with some of his project money. And so, no, that was actually paid with reserves. No debt. Mhm.
Okay, anything else? If not, next meeting date. Um, looking at September 4th or 9th. September 4th is a Thursday. 9th would be a Tuesday, or I don't know what that looks like on the calendar for other people on. Well, and thank you all for being willing to change, because I had a meeting that came up that I have to leave earlier than expected, so thanks for being flexible and
I have child support hearings on the 9th at 9 AM.
9th. To the 4th otherwise. Okay, you know, I mean,
Fourth one,
okay, virtually, no. Virtually, no. Okay. Okay. I mean, we could try, I don't know what Mondays look like. The 8th? No, traveling? I mean, we gotta do it before the 9th, right? If we're gonna have any resolutions. I don't know if we have any resolutions at this time. And the third doesn't work for you neither? Probably earlier one. Wednesday?
I have a hearing on the 3rd too, but it's not on my calendar yet.
That's the day after holiday, right? Okay.
There's a workplace safety
Yeah,
On
Wednesday.
September 3rd.
Let me see if I can find, because I think my hearing might not interfere. It's something that just came up yesterday and I'm having to move a meeting with Cynthia because of it.
On the 3rd, you mean?
Yeah.
Was it?
Um,
4th March is gonna be
supervisor, yeah.
traveling. So when we plan on the 3rd, and if something comes up, we'll reach out to everybody and try to find whatever other dates we can.
It usually is, but we can move it over there.
Do you have to go at 9 o'clock? We could go in the afternoon. It doesn't matter to me. A night.
Yeah. How long does workplace safety normally run? Well, we can go at 10 or 11 o'clock. 11? I'll go for 11 on the 4th. 3rd? 3rd,
on a
okay,
second.
on Wednesday.
I apologize. My hearing, I was able to find.
So
the
we're,
email.
we're looking at the
Okay.
3rd on Wednesday at 11 o'clock.
Okay.
Okay. Otherwise, items for there, Supervisor McLaughlin talked about a seating chart. After consideration really with that should really be probably a change to the board rules. So I don't know if we want to cover it that way. He mentioned that at the last county board meeting. About
Maybe we
having-
should do it in board rules, and if we're gonna do something, we implement it next year's thing where you only have so many months left as it is.
Right, that's what I was thinking. So I'll talk to him about that. Okay, but we'll talk to him and, I mean, yeah, I mean, give us some suggestions. I mean, we looked at alphabetically and, yeah, which way do you do it? So. And then Supervisor Pozdowski talked about cease and desist, and so I don't know if for the treasurer's actions, I guess we can. We had a closed session on that last month, I guess. If we're gonna have something, what's that? Yeah. yeah, so if we do some discussion, we look at maybe a closed session on at that, so just so you're aware, we're gonna have an update on that status of that legal action, so. Okay. Otherwise, nothing else, I'll declare the meeting adjourned and till next month, so thank you. Hey.